of Reese on the radio. Whack FM.
All right, ladies, buckle up. It's showtime.
What's wrong with being an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times?
Do you want to be an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times?
Yeah, I think I'd like to be an angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times. Then grab it, grab it.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Yeah, I'm super cool.
I never once said nagada.
I think everyone wants to know where we came from and how the universe began.
You know what I'm saying?
I have sinned against you.
Reese.
Hey now! What's up, everybody? You know who it is. It's the world's most hated and most racist talk show host in America. It is Reese on the radio right here live on Whack FM, your music news and talk station. I'm always going to love this intro. I love that I found it from Dodgeball. But it sounds like me, doesn't it? Rock, it's got a little soul. Anyway, let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it.
Hey, Jill.
Yeah.
Oh, sugar daddy. They be tricking. They tell them girls.
Let's do it up, son. Is that how the rappers do it? Apparently, T-High's alleged victims can have whatever they like. And apparently it's going to be a lot of money. Let's talk about it, folks. T.I., rapper T.I., who I thought was really, really falling into the mainstream with those appearances in the Ant-Man movies. I mean, with Marvel Studios, I mean, you are the man. I hear that T.I. will not be in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Part 3, or what it's called, Quantumania. They've already dropped him from that. He is a done deal. T.I. is not screaming and hollering that Black Lives Matter because of this. According to the story here, it says new sex assault claims leveled at T.I. and Tiny, part of wilder allegations they deny. It says Los Angeles police detectives are investigating a sexual assault report in which a woman accused rapper Clifford T.I. Harris and his wife, singer Tamika Tiny Harris, of sexual assault in 2005, according to law enforcement sources. LAPD officials confirmed that the department received a report last month and initiated an investigation. It's one of at least two police reports made in recent months that allege that the couple sexually assaulted women after they were drugged. In March, attorney Tyrone A. Blackburn said he had been contacted by more than 30 women, quote-unquote survivors and witnesses, who accused the couple of forced drugging, kidnapping, rape, and intimidation. The woman spoke to an LAPD detective on April 8th and alleged she had received a drink at a bar from Tiny and later was sexually assaulted by T.I. before vomiting and blacking out. Steve Sato, the attorney for the couple, said that the Harrises have not been questioned or contacted by any law enforcement agency. This means nothing because they don't care about coming after you, coming to you for questions. They just arrest. Sato said that because the woman is making the accusations, has not been identified, is preventing us from being in a position to disprove or refute her allegations or even examine them. That's the idea, folks. They're not interested in you refuting them. That's not how sex crimes work. The objective is to convict even before you are tried. They gather all the evidence that they need, and then they have you arrested. Because once you are arrested, the public makes an opinion about you, and then you plead to, that's how it works, folks. Earlier this month, a woman also filed a report with the Los Angeles Metro Police alleging that she had her drink spiked before engaging in non-consensual sex with the couple in August of 2010. Public allegations against the couple first appeared in January, leading to the suspicion of filming of T.I. and Tiny's, of T.I. and Tiny's reality show, The Family Hustle. So, again, T.I. is really, really going to, he's fighting an uphill battle here. He said he was just in Aretha Franklin's Nat Geo biopic. And that's after going to prison for trying to buy machine guns. That's right, in a parking lot. Kevin Spacey groped some dudes and got blacklisted. How about that white privilege? Good point, Mike. It's a damn good point. Now, I'm expecting a phone call from somebody who's been covering this quite extensively because she loves this type of black gossip, or as I like to call it, blossip. Should I tell everybody? Let me tell you what I really call it, okay? I don't like celebrity nonsense. I mean, I used to when I was a kid. When I was a kid. I was a dumb kid. But things with like T.I. and the rappers and all that other stuff and the beefs back and forth, I've always called it nigga nonsense because that's what it is. It's nonsense. This, however, not so much nonsense. These are serious allegations. If indeed they are true, it's a big deal. To be fair, Kevin Spacey got blacklisted for blaming his groping boys on being gay. That's true. That's true. Amy, good point. He did try to say that his homosexuality was one of the reasons why he was groping that young man. That didn't go over well at all. Whoever his publicist is, I'd fire them. I would have fired them. But don't worry, Kevin Spacey's making a lot of money. Just the other day, I just saw a movie that he was in recently called, what's it called? Baby Boy? Is that the name of the movie? It's with the little kid who's a driver. Kevin Spacey plays some sort of hitman. Or, no, not hitman. What am I saying? Hitman. Some gangster that forces the young kid to drive for him while they go on these heists. I forget what it's called. But anyway, Baby Driver. Some nonsense like that. Kevin Spacey's still making his own. Pedophilia was okay with Hollywood. Disparaging gays, not so much. No, I don't know. I guess there's no way to dispute that. I mean, Roman Polanski, perfect example. I mean, even Whoopi Goldberg went on The View and said, yes, Baby Driver. Even Whoopi Goldberg went on The View and said that what Roman Polanski did to a 12-year-old wasn't rape. It was just sort of kind of rape. It wasn't real rape. It was just, it's like diet rape. It was low-carb rape. That's what apparently Roman Polanski was doing in Jack Nicholson's home. So, yeah, that was an interesting aspect. So anyway, I was expecting a phone call because somebody who extensively watches this, and that's Jennifer, but apparently she's not watching. I just got off the phone with a woman, and you think she called in? No. Kaiser Soze. So whatever. F it, I'm moving on. So, too late for that. What is this? I need that to stop happening. And if I can get this thing cut off, I'm sorry, manage notifications. I need to turn this off. Okay, good. I don't want those notifications, so you keep hearing that. I was like, can I get a request for prayers for Regina's family? Okay, of course you can, sir. Please send prayers to Regina and her family. We lost Regina last Thursday. Carl, thank you, and she is in our prayers. Let's get into the meat of it, since the T.I. thing was a bust because Jennifer was supposed to call, and apparently she missed her cue. So, folks, I want to get into this whole nonsense about people wearing masks. Leave it to Reese on the radio. Leave it to Reese on the radio to find a silver lining in these idiots, morons, buffoons, dumbasses who constantly wear masks, for us to find a silver lining in all of this.
This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
The people who are out there wearing a mask, you finally get to know by looking around you who the idiots are. Who are the malleable, easily influenced? The people who are falling for the banana in the tailpipe? The people who probably voted for Joe Biden? These people are now easy to spot because they are walking around with a mask on. You're driving in your car. You look to your right. Guy pulls up to you. You just look to your right just to, you're checking your surroundings. Moron is in the car wearing a mask by himself. He's an idiot. Clearly. Right? What do? Simple. When the light turns green, hold up a second. Yeah, the guy behind you is gonna burn. Is gonna run on his horn. So what? Let this idiot go first. Get him ahead of you. Get him away from you. Let this moron go ahead. Okay? This guy behind you, let him lean on the horn. If anything, you can lean out the window and go, "Hey, this moron's got a mask on next to me. We're just going to let him go ahead, okay?" They will understand if the person's got any sense, okay? We need to know who these idiots are. Remember, folks, we had no way of knowing before. No way of knowing who these morons were. They were easily manipulated. And who were they manipulated by? People that you and I, on a regular basis, were calling stupid, idiotic, dumb, the whole shebang. We were saying, don't listen to Dr. Fauci. We were saying, stop listening to the CDC. This has nothing to do with science. We've been telling you for the longest. Nobody wanted to listen. Well, folks, just play this. Just play this show to them. Like, share, save, whatever it is you got to do. Because I am going to show you that these people are lying pieces of garbage. Dr. Fauci in particular. Many of you will remember that Dr. Fauci got into a beef with Rand Paul, Dr. Rand Paul, in a Senate hearing where under oath, Rand Paul asked him whether or not wearing a vaccine was theater. Wearing a mask was theater. Which Dr. Fauci fervently suggested, no, I disagree with you. Angrily, he got all righteous indignation he got with him.
No. You've been vaccinated and you parade around in 2 masks for show. No. You can't get it again. There's virtually 0% chance you're going to get it, and yet you're telling people that have had the vaccine, who have immunity. You're defying everything we know about immunity by telling people to wear a mask who've been vaccinated. No. Instead, you should be saying there is no science to say we're going to have a problem from the large number of people being vaccinated. You want to get rid of vaccine hesitancy? Tell them they can quit wearing their mask after they get the vaccine. You want people to get the vaccine? Give them a reward instead of telling them that the nanny state's going to be there for 3 more years and you got to wear a mask forever. People don't want to hear it. There's no science behind it.
Well, let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Masks are protective. And we
have immunity there, theater. If you already have immunity, you're wearing a mask to give comfort to others. You're not wearing a mask because of any science.
I totally disagree with you.
Yeah, he says and Rand Paul said it. You're doing it to give comfort to others. It is theater. I disagree with you. Really, Dr. Fauci? We seem to have a different point of view when asked by George Stephanopoulos, which we happen to have on video.
How has it changed what you do when you wear a mask?
Excuse me, how has
it changed what you do? How has it changed your mask wearing practices?
Well, George, I'm obviously careful because, I'm a physician and a healthcare provider. I am now much more comfortable in people seeing me indoors without a mask.
He's comfortable with people seeing him indoors. Comfortable. Nothing about that has anything to do with science. He's a healthcare physician, he said first, and now he's talking about people's comfortability. Theater.
I mean, before the CDC made the recommendation change, I didn't want to look like I was giving mixed signals.
I didn't want to look like I was giving mixed signals. Theater. Thespian. Dr. Fauci is a fucking fraud.
But being a fully vaccinated person, the chances of my getting infected in an indoor setting is extremely low. And that's the reason why in indoor settings now, I feel comfortable about not wearing a mask.
Yeah, he feels comfortable about not wearing a mask. Yes, he is a liberal. But he's not a pussy. He's just a liar. He's just a liar. And everything it is that these folks are telling you goes against science. It has nothing to do with science. It's all political. If you don't believe me, it gets better. Dr. Fauci now, in order to save some face, oh God, Dr. Fauci's gone off the rails. Now, COVID-19, for some odd reason, is associated with racism.
COVID-19 has shown a bright light on our own society's failings. Our country's experience with COVID-19 has not only upended our own lives, but it has uncovered a stark reality and failing of our own society. The unacceptable disparities in health experienced by minority groups, especially African Americans, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Now, I've only got one question to ask you, Dr. Fauci. According to what? Were there health disparities in Africa, where the area is majority black? Because if COVID-19 exposed something about us racially, then predominantly black nations or predominantly brown nations, COVID-19 should have wiped them out entirely. These are third world countries. Now, I want you to think about what Dr. Fauci is saying here, which shows that it has nothing to do with science, right? Okay? We have got a 950% spike. I'll say it again. We have a 950% spike in illegal border crossings this year at the southern border. Many of those people who are crossing the border are COVID infected. Not a majority, all. 100% of those who are crossing the border are brown. They are traveling from the tri-country area all the way through Mexico. We're talking about a trek that is as far as New York to Nevada, right? Unprotected, in the hot blazing sun, around other people coddled together or grouped together who may have COVID. Why aren't these brown people? Because remember, COVID is exposing the disparity racially. Just in America. Apparently the other countries don't count that have a majority brown or black a population. Doesn't happen there. But none of those people, that 950, because if it really was affecting black people and brown people to the levels in which, sainted Dr. Fauci is suggesting here, those people should have never ever made it across the trek. They should have never been, they should have never made it halfway through Mexico. They should have died on the spot. But no, we have a 950% uptick in illegal crossings. Why is that? So Dr. Fauci is now changing. That's not even the goalpost. He's changing positions or changing directions, or he's trying to alter the conversation. Now Dr. Fauci is not just a physician, but now he's some sort of racial prophet in the medical world. Who are these quote-unquote disproportionate black people who die? Where is the uprising? I mean, I don't see black people, much less Black Lives Matter, marching in unison, burning down buildings because of the amount of African Americans who are dying of COVID who cannot get medical care. Where are they? I mean, if we're really talking about the epidemic of lost black lives, right? And if COVID was so detrimental on African Americans, was so detrimental on those who are brown skinned, right? Why was it that the media at the same time was contorting itself, and twisting itself up like a pretzel to celebrate the protests for George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, whomever it was who had died last year? Those people were allowed to group all over the place. Did you ever see that picture over at the Brooklyn Museum of Art? There were thousands of people right up against each other. And people were celebrating. Look at the amount of people out there protesting for racial justice. And then Donald Trump will hold a rally and say, look at those super spreaders. Really, Dr. Fauci? He's a pussy, Reese. Did not see how he threw out the first pitch last year. Come on. Yeah, I did see that. Trump's biggest mistake was not firing this fraud. I totally agree, Amy. Totally agree. But Trump, for a guy, too late, Jen. Sorry, honey. Too late, honey. I needed you to be here, but you're gone. Listen, Trump, look, as much as Trump did things that bucked the system, as much as Trump did to push back against everything it is that was said and done against him, there were a lot of times where Trump was concerned about the reaction that he would get if he fired or got rid of somebody. Like the reaction he got when he fired Jim Comey. Fauci was loved and adored. Why was Trump trying to win a press that never liked him anyway? I'll never get that. He was very fickle in that regard. But yeah, I agree, Amy. He totally should have gotten rid of that guy. When I got my first and only shot, I had to show ID to confirm my identity. Do black people who oppose ID to vote get to oppose showing ID for the shot? That's a great question, John. And the best way to answer it is there is no issue in the black community about having ID to vote. That is not where the issue lies. That is an AstroTurf mission. That is a fabricated mission. This is another thing done on behalf of African Americans that African Americans know nothing about. And if they do know anything about it, they don't concern themselves with combating or pushing back on it. They don't. They don't bother to. They're not interested in it. They let people do things on their behalf all the time. This is why I say that idea of the black community is nonsense. Because if the black community existed, they would never let anyone do anything by using their name or their race in vain. They would never do it. The black community would get together and say, hey, this piece of shit is doing something in our name that is detrimental to us or does not benefit us, and then they put a stop to it. That's what a community does. If it's a group of like-minded, like Borg type people, right? Like, what do you think the Borg would do, right? Because that's a community. The Borg has a collective, because that's what a community is. It's a collective. They all have the same ideas, ideals, mission, all of it, right? That's what a community is, right? Because the community, think about your community, right? You don't want SUVs in your community because you want to be a greener community. You make sure that the HOA, make sure that nobody can live in your community with an SUV. Everybody has to have a hybrid car. You think I'm kidding? It's done. Go to places like San Francisco and San Diego. There are actual communities that will not allow you to live or dwell in those communities unless you have a hybrid car. Guy had an Avalanche when they first came out. They made him get rid of it or move. That's what a community does. You have a person of the homeowners association, right? The homeowners association, the president of the homeowners association in the area tells everybody what it is they can't have, right? You got to make sure that your garbage cans are put out at this particular time and they must sit at this place. That's what the community does, and the community adheres to those rules, right? Community doesn't want those rules. They get together, they change those rules, they have a vote, and that's how that works. The black community does not work like that because black people are individuals. Do I really have to make that clear? So when you hear these nonsense that Stacey Abrams talking about, like black people are are angered by not or having to show ID is nonsense. Hold on one second. I'm doing something here just to make my point, John Beckman, and I'm hoping, yes, good. I found it. Please listen to this audio, and I will explain to you what I'm talking about. I'm going to get a commercial. Okay. Just bear with me. This is Ami Horowitz, Ami on the Street. First audio that you're going to hear is him talking to liberals. Maybe I should I just put this up? Maybe I should. Give me a second here. I hope you'll indulge me for a second here. Because I'm hoping that you can hear this. So I'm going to do something that takes a second. I'm going to do a window capture here. Right? And here. I'll do that so that you can see this yourself. And just bear with me. All right. So here is Ami Horowitz talking to people in the street about voter ID.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here in Berkeley, California to find out if voter ID laws suppress the black vote. Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad.
I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Is that also would make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works. A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data. For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed. I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African Americans.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard. Do you have ID normally? Do you carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. That's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy cameras?
I know, right?
That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that. It's on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to get to the DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid can figure out how to work the internet.
I had access to the internet for years.
You know how to use it properly, right?
Exactly. I do it at work. So, of course, I know how to use it. My kids know how to use it. They all have iPads, iPods, whatever.
Your phone has data?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually
unlimited.
Unlimited data.
Mm-hmm. I use my phone as a hotspot.
What does that say to you for the people who have this perception of black people?
They're pretty much ignorant. That's what my thought process was.
I just think that's ignorant.
Ignorant. Ignorant. That's the word I hear a lot. Ignorant.
Very, very ignorant.
Does it sound racist for somebody to say that?
I think it is a little racist because, you're putting people in a category and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe a little bit of racist in it, but like I said, I think it's more stupidity and ignorance.
You judging somebody, but you judging them because they black, saying that they don't got it.
What people are they talking to? Who are these people talking to?
Do you have a problem that if you go to vote and they say, "Can we please see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are?" Are you
Love showing my ID.
You got no problem with that?
Nope.
Would you have a problem if when you go to vote, if they say, "Can we please just see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are?" Do you have an issue with that?
No.
Would you have a problem if there was a rule where you have to show your ID in order to vote?
I don't think so. No.
Would you have an issue if there was a rule saying you got to show your ID before you vote?
Nah.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
So there you go. John, I hope I was able to answer the question for you. I told you, it's a non-issue. It's not an issue at all within the African American community. These are people who have made it their mission to do things on behalf of African Americans that they don't, things that they don't need. And I mean, just to say, wow, all these people sound racist. You want to hear the funny part, Michael? Here's the funny part. They're all liberal. And I don't know whether or not, I know, Michael, you and I have sort of met each other like weirdly, like we haven't been, communicating a lot. Just recently we have, but let me just explain this to you while I got you. 100%. I told you, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. The truth is that liberalism and Democrats are the KKK. They are the Klan, dude. And and where do you expect these racists to sit and lie within liberalism? You hear them bashing Jews yesterday. They're Democrats. They're bashing Jews. What group does the Klan bash Jews? Yes, they do. I mean, you can't put it any other way. The Klan bashes Jews, and these liberals bash Jews.
Your call has been forwarded.
Oh, sorry. All right, whoever that was on the line, please call back. What's that? Remember they said that black people are uneducated to get an ID. Yes, that's because that's how they see these people, as dumb. Okay, sorry about that. It's Reese on radio. Who's on the line?
Hello?
Hey. Hello?
Hello? I can't hear you.
I know, honey. You got to turn down your volume. You should be able to hear me.
Oh, I did turn down my volume, but I don't understand what the big deal is about showing your ID to vote. You show your ID to get beer. You show your ID to get whatever you want. So what's the big deal?
The big deal is that people like Stacey Abrams, who, by the way, oh, well, okay, she got cut off. Stacey Abrams, by the way, who told all of these people, who went and told all of these people that, blacks are disenfranchised when it comes to voting laws and voting ID laws. But then the woman managed to get a crap load of people to come and get this Ossoff and Warnock elected to the Senate. She managed to get that done with all of these quote-unquote Jim Crow laws in effect that stop black people from voting. But she managed to get out the vote effort that got African Americans to get Ossoff and Warnock in. So I don't know, John Beckman, there's your answer right there. Liberals are who it is that we expect them to be, and they are racist. Okay, Jen, I can't, honey, you got to figure it out. I can't keep taking the call because it's interrupting me right now. Okay, I'm sorry. You just got to forgive me. Yesterday, I played some audio of, and some video of the Jews being bashed by U.S. Congress. And I'll play it again just to give you some background here on the next piece I'm going to play by Senator Tom Cotton. But these are the Democrats talking about the Palestinians, who in essence are being executed, according to these Democrats, because Israel is a mightier force. But, my answer is like, if there's such a mighty force, what the F are the Palestinians, fake country, doing, provoking them? Because that makes no sense. But here's the Congress talking about Jews.
We oppose our money going to fund militarized policing, occupation, and systems of violent oppression and trauma. We are anti-war, we are anti-occupation, and we are anti-apartheid.
Could you have told the idiots over in the fake Palestine that you were against war, and if you could tell them to please stop shooting rockets from schools, hospitals, and the AP news organization, they'd appreciate it. Tom Cotton had something to say about this, which I thought was brilliant. I was so happy that he got up and he said something about this nonsense. Here's Senator Tom Cotton talking about the Associated Press, who was bemoaning about the fact that their building got hit.
Did the AP pull its punches and decline to report for years on Hamas's misdeeds? I submit that the AP has some uncomfortable questions to answer. Yet the AP and its fellow journalists are in high dudgeon about Israel's wholly appropriate airstrike. Leave it to whiny reporters to make themselves the story and the victim when terrorists are shooting missiles at innocent civilians.
Yeah, Tom Cotton called it right out there. You know, look, these people are just who it is that they say that they are. They are racist, okay? Everything is about the color of the skin. If you really want to know who these people are, just take into consideration white fragility and critical race theory. These are practices that are being embraced by liberals that say that you should be judged by your immutable characteristics, that your skin color determines who you are and your lot in life. Where would you ever have seen that in history? Where have you seen it in history? Your immutable characteristics define who you are as a human being. Who could have possibly thought that the faction of Black Lives Matter, the Nancy Pelosi's, the AOC's, the New York Times, the Washington Post would glom on to an ideal that says you are judged by the color of your skin? What group could have possibly existed in our time that says anything remotely close to that? Could it be the Klan? Ladies and gentlemen? Could it possibly be the Nazi? Could it be communists? I seem to be getting all these answers right. What do I win? What do I win? They're the only group. Now look, there's a bunch of people out there who sit up there saying, yeah, I'm a Democrat, but I don't think like them. Yeah, okay, fine, that's great. What are you doing to reel these morons in? You're doing nothing. Hey, look, I'll say it's tantamount to what the Christians did during the Holocaust. They did nothing. What did the Catholic Church do when the Holocaust was going on there? Even Pope Benedict said, you know what? We could have done more. We could have given safe harbor. We could have given refuge to all of those Jews who were trying to get out of Dodge so they could stop being murdered and genocide to get away from the genocide. We could have done so much, but they didn't. Is it Edmund Burke? It's got to be. Who knows the Edmund Burke quote? What was it? When good men do nothing, evil persists when good men do nothing? I know I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's Edmund Burke. What are you doing? This is the same thing that's happening in the black community because they sit idly by while all of this is being done in their name. They don't care. You can ask ask every individual black person, hey, do you believe that they're suppressing your vote by making you get an ID or bring an ID to the voting block? Yes, because some people don't have ID. What about people who get on the plane? What about people who go to the liquor store? What about people who buy cigarettes? Because, poor people do all of those things. Right? Now think about it, because it's 6 in one hand and half a dozen of another. What are poor people more susceptible to, folks? What are poor people more susceptible to? Cigarette smoking? Yeah. I'd say they are. Liquor drinking, right? Because the big complaint is there's a liquor store in every corner in the hood. Well, how are they buying their liquor? Are they producing ID? So tell me, what's going on? What the F is going on? So they can't produce an ID? Do they have to produce an ID when they go pick up their welfare check? Oh, yes, they do. But we also have to consider the fact that African Americans very seldomly vote anyway. Midterm elections, less than 24% of registered voters actually go to the polls. That's a fact. It just is. So they don't care about this nonsense about IDs. But anyway, I got off subject. I don't know how I did, but I got off subject. I just wanted to make sure that I got all that across, John. You distracted me, and I got caught up in that. I'm sorry, Jennifer, that you missed the TI story, but it was just a brief story that I wanted to get into. I really didn't want to get into all that much of it. Oh, by the way, I did want to say this. Hey, did you see Tucker Carlson today? If you did today, you'll notice that Tucker. I kind of feel like Tucker Carlson and I are on the same wavelength. Because Tucker's like me. It's like, he said today on his show, we never bring kids on here. Like, we just don't. But this 4th grader at this Florida school, he brought him on. If you didn't get to watch it, please go to foxnews.com and go to shows. Go to Tucker Carlson's page. It'll probably be on in another hour. The video will be up there. But the 4th grader, I think he's 10 years old. Yeah, he's got to be 10 years old. The 4th grader was on Tucker Carlson today. Tell me if you saw, well, here you won't see it, but on Tucker Carlson, I was trying to get the video up for you, but they hadn't posted it yet. But tell me, folks, when you do, tell me if this kid doesn't have a future in politics. This is him from yesterday, if you missed it.
School board members, my name is John. I'm 10. I just turned 10 years old.
Talk a little closer to that.
I just turned 10 years old, and I am a 4th grader at Felix A. Williams. I expected school to be a little bit different in the beginning, but I didn't think it would stay this way all year long.
Now, mind you, I want to say this, that Tucker played this video on the show today, and he played it. The video that I got was exactly like this. You'll see the little scoop thing up there. So it's a very, very tight shot of the young man. But the video that's actually there, the police officer who came up to him and grabbed the mic and said, you have to talk right here. There's another version of this video that has the wide shot. And Tucker played it on the air. It'll air tonight at 1 a.m. If not, watch it online, foxnews.com. Watch the police officer behind. Now, the police officer's got to enforce all of these mask rules and the whole 9 yards. This is a 10-year-old, 4th grader, who's spewing this. If you watch the full shot of this, the police officer's sitting behind the kid, and he's going like this. And you see it through the mask. He's agreeing with the kid. Totally agree with him.
And I was surprised by the rules. a lot of them didn't make any sense to me, like the fact that we were not allowed to play on the playground or have student council or turn to face each other at lunch. And we also have to wear masks outside at PE and on track.
Now, I looked this up, Carl. Remember we were talking about the whole thing with the kids were not allowed to face each other in the lunchroom? Guess what I found out? I was right. The kids were not allowed to put their trays on the table. They had to sit in their chairs, turned around, and they had to put their trays on their laps while they ate with their backs to the table so that they didn't face each other. That's how they sat there. They had to put it on their... That didn't happen on Tucker Carlson. Don't go looking for that when you go look up the video. But I found this out. I actually did some research, and it turns out that they had to turn their backs to the table instead of putting their trays on the table like a normal human being. This pandemic had so many people shook that even though kids don't transmit it to one another, they made the kids turn their backs to the table and put the trays on their lap and eat like a bunch of savages.
I love my school and all, but my teachers seem really stressed, and that makes me feel bad. One teacher walks around with a clipboard full of referrals for any student whose mask isn't on properly. It makes me feel scared. That same teacher yells at us having our masks down to drink water while we are outside in Carline. She told us we had to wait until we were in our parents' car to have a drink of water. She had her mask down the entire time while she was yelling at us, which makes me and all my friends very mad. This happens a lot. And it seems unfair teachers take their masks off while they yell at us kids and that we need to pull ours up. I asked my mom if there's a word for this, and she said there is. Hypocrisy. Where?
And the kid was great on Tucker Carlson. You should watch it tonight if you get a chance. Just go online and just go to shows. It was the first segment of Tucker Carlson tonight. The kid is on there. He's an adorable kid. He's smart beyond his years. And you can see him with his dad. He's there with his dad. And as he's talking with his dad is like, of course, speaking like an adult. But this little 10-year-old kid clearly understands everything his dad's talking about. And his son's like looking at him. He's like, he's grinning. He's like, yeah, good point, Dad. Yeah. Dad, you're a very smart man. The kid's adorable. But I kept looking at this kid. I'm saying to myself, if I'm his father, I'm grooming him now. I mean, right now, he's got no checkered past. What's the worst thing that kid could have done? Other than Amy suggested yesterday, get expelled from his school for speaking out. But, nonetheless, you make sure that you protect that boy, okay? You make sure that he does it, like he goes on a straight and narrow, right? Gavin, grow up. He's got a political future. I'm telling you, the kid's smart. Just keep raising him. Just keep raising him. Keep him conservative. Keep him, just make sure you pay for the best college. Yeah, of course I'm proud of him. I'm just making my point. That's what I would do. I would just make that kid, I'd make him candidate material. Make him clean as a whistle. Just make him clean as a whistle. That's what I would do. Make that boy anything. I wanted to play this finally, talking about this whole COVID nonsense. Randy Weingarten, the head of the United Federation of Teachers, I believe she's still of. We found out, we made this whole argument earlier about why it was never about science. This was all about politics. This was all about theater. This was all about control. When we found out that Randy Weingarten and the largest teachers union was giving suggestions to the CDC on what they should write, nobody even wanted to talk about it. This is a teachers union forcing a government entity, a bureaucracy, to write guidelines for people's children that benefited the unions. Well, here's Randy Weingarten when she's confronted about it. She doesn't deny it. She doesn't get on here and say, oh, part of that story isn't true. No, she deflects. She said she told the CDC that they should talk to parents too. Bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit.
You call it normal, though, I guess in the write-up of the Post saying those two suggestions that you offered, at least your organization offered, make it nearly verbatim in the final draft. Do you call that normal as far as the ability to do that?
Look, Pedro, they asked us for language, and we gave them language when they asked us for it. But if you look at the public record,
Then did you hear that? She said the CDC asked the Teachers Federation. The CDC working with a teachers union, asking them for guidelines. And of course, they were willing to get them because what was the teachers union doing? Teachers union was saying, look, we ain't going to school no matter what. No matter what you say, we ain't going down to the school. So the CDC says, hey, we need to put out guidelines. Before we put up these guidelines, let me call Randy Weingarten and go find out what it is that she wants us to put in these guidelines for the rest of us.
Draft, do you call that normal as far as the ability to do that?
look, Pedro, they asked us for language.
She's like, look, Pedro, I know where you're going here, but you do understand that right now we are on C-SPAN, and this is a liberal outfit, and I know you are not trying to attack me, Negro, because I will come for you.
And we gave them language when they asked us for it. But if you look at the public record, I was saying these things publicly.
No one cares, Randy, whether or not you were saying them publicly. What we care about was that what you said publicly made it into the CDC's guidelines. And the CDC is supposed to be separate from what it is that the teachers union wants. If you're a teacher and you pay union dues, you're being played. Yeah, absolutely. But that's what we don't give a shit whether or not you were saying it out loud or whether or not you were saying it to the rest of us or whether or not you were making a public opinion. The question is at hand, and why you're deflecting, I still don't know, is why the CDC, that's supposed to be there for everybody, was doing your fucking bidding.
These kinds of things. So there's nothing nefarious about doing this kind of work. And frankly,
what do you mean? Nobody said what you were doing what was nefarious. We're talking about the CDC.
You know, we have said to the CDC, everyone should have, parents should be, they should be communicating with parents. They should be communicating with educators. They have to communicate with those who actually are impacted by their policies.
Why would I have to talk to you about how you're impacted by my policies? I'm the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. I'm supposed to be following the science, not how you feel about the science. That makes us nothing more than political hacks. That doesn't make us the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Like, what is it that Randy doesn't get here? I should be talking to teachers and parents about how it is that I prevent infectious diseases from spreading because you guys are the effing authority.
The science tells you where the pandemic is going. The impact, the logistics are something that one has to do.
No, they do not. There's a pandemic out there. It's going to kill you. This is what you need to do. There's a pandemic out there. It won't kill you. This is what you don't need to do. That's the CDC. That's it. End of the goddamn discussion. Not the logistics. What are you talking about? This codifies the rhetoric that people are out there calling it a plandemic. Okay? That's what's happening here. This only codifies the term plandemic. Because it has nothing to do with science. It has everything to do with social construct and planning.
There was nothing that everything that we said privately, we've been saying publicly. And ultimately, the fact that there are variants, the fact that there needed to be accommodations, this is part of what creates the trust that we can reopen schools fully in the fall.
No, it doesn't. This destroyed the credibility of the CDC forever. This didn't help a soul. This didn't help anyone.
Again, safety is the way in which you reopen.
Yeah, we don't need Randy Weingarten to tell us that. Everybody knows that. That's a given.
Only people who think that our members are not the people who are impacted, like students, like parents, would raise these issues.
Such bullshit. Which shows us exactly how awful all this got, folks. I didn't give you too many examples of how all of this thing was political. If you're running around wearing your mask, folks, if you really believe that you need to consistently wear your mask, if you're not going to fight back against these people at the stores, at the grocery stores, at the Wawa, at the 7-Eleven, wherever it is that you're going, dude, if you're going to let these people do what it is that they're doing, you're being hoodwinked, and you need to stand up for yourself, because I just can't do it anymore. I just can't, and I'm not doing it anymore. All right, folks, you know what that sound is. We've reached the end of our run today. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow. Until I see you then. Y'all be good now, you hear? And thank you for joining me, if I don't say that enough. Thank you always for joining me here. It means everything to me.